Good morning, everyone. Welcome, party people. Actually, good afternoon. It is Wednesday, 2026, January 28th. Markets are continuing to trend. Let's take a look at what's going on. Also, another thing, I do this sort of in terms of like public accountability. So I'm going to ixnay on the stocks. I'm going to stick with ETFs 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, unless I change that differently. I don't really get a ton out of doing the single, technical analysis on single stocks. It's much more helpful for my process to do top down, especially with everything that's going on. So when Paycom moves 20% or some nonsense, I don't really care about it that much, and I don't think you should either, unless you're obviously in it. But there's a lot happening globally, so I'm going to step back and continue to do these ETF videos Monday, Wednesday, Friday, maybe 2 times a week. If you ever have a ticker or some single stock you want to look up, go for it. Fed today at about in an hour and change or so. We're going to get the very most likely a pause. They're probably not going to cut until the new guy comes in June, and that's pretty much that. Nothing burger in my opinion. Very low volume today, muted, but they'll talk about unemployment picture, what's going on with the dollar, monetary policy, usual, etc. All right, let's get into it. Indonesia, a big crash today, down 11%. I know it's not a place where folks really focus on it immensely, but they had an MSCI pretty significant warning that might downgrade them from emerging market to frontier market, and it crashed the stock, the ETF, the country today. So sorry for the Indonesians, but very tough tape today. We'll see if there's any kind of contagion if that happens elsewhere. Things you always have to be aware of, hence why we're looking at it. Europe, a pullback of about 1.5% today. It's been on fire. We were highlighting, EAFE world all-time highs. We'll take a look at that chart. You did see a dollar bump today after hitting 4-year lows. And gold, new all-time highs. I bought more today. Yes, today. The turtle trading system is working out exceptional. I'm up 18% year to date. I know there will be give back, but Richard Dennis, you beautiful genius, you. It's just an amazing system. 2 ATR and you get out. It's the trend is your friend until the end where it bends. So gold, all-time highs today. Uranium miners, I'm long URA. That group is having a multiple standard deviation move higher today. And semiconductors, I did get stopped out. Full disclosure, 2 days ago, the SOXX, they are just shaking off, continuing higher. Intel powering that, and NVIDIA over that 190 mark. Very important, where they were going into that November earnings, as we were on the cusp of mega cap earnings today. Tonight is Microsoft, Meta, Tesla, massive, IBM as well. New all-time highs for, let's hold our breath. SPY, your S&P finally joined the party again this morning. It's not a sell America trade. The VIX is at 18, so understand that. Emerging markets, all-time highs. Gold, same thing. South Korea, that position is working amazingly for me. Amazingly, obviously, the way it's working. Sold some yesterday, take profits, bought some more. It's working extremely well. COPX, semiconductors, Taiwan, and Canada. As you can tell, a lot of those, not just straight tech. Yes, Samsung had a huge deal with Microsoft yesterday, which powered that ETF much, much, much higher. Let's get into some of the charts as we do. Let's get into it. I don't know why I'm talking like this. But yeah, things are going super well. I know there will, but have a system in place. 2 ATRs is a simple way to do it. It's really, really works powerfully. Instead of your intuition, don't be a hope trader. You should become prepared to be a broke trader. All right, NVIDIA, like I said, up nearly 192 here, up 1.5%. Micron can't stop, won't stop. The company that said, let's get rid of the consumer enterprise and just focus on the business side for the next, because they're sold out for orders until 2028, is across $430. That stock's up 51% year to date. And last I checked, we're not even in February yet. What the haka, as my son says. Silver adding 1%, gold adding 2%. They're not letting go of their gold. Okay, I said this before. I said this in my CMT presentation as well. Silver, they'll ramp it up almost like a meme stock, and then they'll let go of it. But we do need it for electronification of everything. Gold, they're not going to let go. That's not hitting its 50-day. Gold is uber strong, and hence why the system advised moving more capital into gold than silver. Intel, like I said, don't cheat the White House. Up 10% today, up a third of the value year to date. Ridiculous. United Health up 3.5% today. with the whole thing that happened the other day with Medicare news from Trump. That stock's down 11% on the year. Apple down pretty significant, down 1.25%. That's big for it. It's had a nasty 2026, down 6%. I believe they report tomorrow, so look for that catalyst. And Palantir down 3.5%. So kind of a nasty report on them, more so from a technical analysis point. I haven't looked at the chart lately, but it is down 9% on the year, a third of which of those losses come today, and it just went under 160. All right. So going to the Fed, as I said, we are looking at pretty muted volumes here for SPY. I'm looking at 27 million shares of SPY at the midway point. We typically have around 37, 40 million. So yeah, discounted for sure. Waiting for the Fed conference. It's going to be more than likely a snoozer, but let's see here. So here was the all-time highs at 5:30 a.m. Of course, a liquid pre-market, but we touched 698. Here is the open right here, and they use the opportunity to sell it. The actual, high on the day is 698. I'm running for simplicity's sake, and I could tell right here at 10 a.m. I said to a buddy I was texting, a trader, I said this is going to be a sell the rip market until if the Fed says something, positive, dovish. Let's see how they interpret it. And I knew the VWAP was going to hold our ceiling for the day, and that's basically been the case. Your 200 bar average, with each one constituting 30 minutes, support ultimately is at 689, and here we are putting in that floor, the lower Bollinger Band, right around 694. It's intraday noise for the most part. As I zoom out, I don't know what's gotten into me. Maybe it's the Canada all-time highs. But as I zoom out for the United States, there's a little bit of don't want to get into it too much to make this video like 45 minutes or whatever. But seeing some of the indices. Oh, excuse me. Thank you. If anyone say God bless you, nobody. Me, not even the dog. He's upstairs. He's not a visitor, a viewer of the show anymore. He's just bummed the snow. He's gotten less walks. It's unfortunate. So SPY, I see a little bit different pull and pull. I'm not going to go into each index, but the IWM has to have the jets cool off for a little bit. I like what I'm seeing out of the NASDAQ with everything that's on the catalyst today. It's going to be an important setup. But we'll focus on the S&P. I think the S&P is looking good. The bullish accumulation phase to me has begun on January 23rd, right around there. Let me put my cursor here for you. So it's a little bit in the throes of the rally, right? Because technically a low is here on the 20th, but I'm going from the prior high. It's typically around 15-ish days, depending on the momentum. And I think a lot of traffic, capital dollars went to the EAFE and stuff like that. We'll take a look at all those charts. So for me, anyway, the way I'm doing it is around the 23rd is when it started. That takes us for bullishness that ends on or around February 8th. And I see that reaching right around I got $703 right around for a target, maybe a touch inside like 701 for SPY, but I do think that's where we're going to go. I mean, you can technical analysis all about probabilities. When we were looking at this, I was saying looking at all-time highs, by that President's Day, long Valentine's Day weekend, but it probably does it before. And yeah, it happened, yesterday, today, and so on. So I'm saying for that target of getting to 703, give it about, I think, 2-ish weeks, although it can happen sooner with all these mega cap tech earnings that are happening. Also, just another note, there is a divergence here. You're getting all-time highs, and the RSI is barely squeaking 60. So don't love to see that. Can let me know that you can quickly get a fall to, say, 685. No problem. Another thing for all those people that say, though, the market's so expensive, I'm not chasing it here. Do understand, fully realize that 640, okay, 639.5 is your 200-day moving average. We are very unlikely, of course, I think it happened like it did in April, and we're a tweet away from the president or something like that on volatility. But do understand that level is that we first discovered in human history for SPY at the end of July when we went into that overbought period and a breakout from a former level, easy signal. As you know, I'm very big on that. It works wonderfully. That is your support here. So I think at worst case, the market will slip to 6-month lows and absolute worst, and they will gobble it up. Okay, the world is an all-time high. So that's pretty much it for SPY. To me, the tape looks pretty clear. I think we're going to pierce 700 and pretty much sell around 703 in the next two-ish, maybe 3 weeks. And it can happen, this afternoon with the way the Fed speaks. But that's pretty much it. And of course, yes, here, less and less volume in SPY, and just less going to, and that's how you get your, one of the proponents getting to a 58 RSI, where you get that divergence. Okay, let us now boobity bop get into the big moves. And I mean, how far do you have to look? A multiple standard deviation mover. So understand that this is not over yet. Okay, gold is ridiculous. Okay, you could have sold many different times and said, oh, it's overbought, it's over its skis, I'm going to get out. They're not selling their gold. Okay, the 52-week low was last January 31st, because they have to give the benefit of the doubt to go literally a year ago to find the year low. Pretty much a good sign if you're looking for a bull. And that price was 259 was VWAP that day. We were at 487 with a great looking candle as well. If I don't say so myself. The RSI is at 87. This is absolute fever pitch. It topped out at 86 RSI on October 8th, as well as on October 16th. We just crossed it today with a great looking candle. Here's the beef of this. Okay, here's where I'm going to get to this. We're getting a little bit stretched. I know that might be comical. I'm in it. I bought more today. I think this is going to pierce 500. I think it's going to target 500 sometime in the coming. It moves so crazy. It could happen today. Honestly, the way it works, it's up $11 today. I think this has about $13 to go. And honestly, at that point, it might get like a 93, 94 RSI. At that point, there's not much room. You're basically going down the fast lane, going 115 miles an hour. Every move you have there is super. You better be very, very careful. That's basically what, to me, an 85 RSI is. You better be careful. You're dancing with a lot of velocity. Also, this has not had a red day since January 16th, so they're just gobbling this up. I don't think we're going to look at silver, but do understand that this thing's absolute fever pitch. I do think, like I said, and this candle is kind of confirming it to me. We'll see what happens after the Fed pressure, but this looks like it wants to get to 500, and then it's going to calm down. And to be honest, I think it pulls back. It might pull back mightily, and the trend is still in place. The area of the former breakout when we enter this overbought stage, I think it dropped to 440 from 500. Crazy talk. That's $60. We'll see. That's a massive move. That's about 12%. It could happen over a couple of days. Down 3%, down 3%, so on and so forth for a week. While this beta continues to spark up, say they embrace mega cap earnings. Basically Amazon saying they're going to let go of 15,000 jobs, and all the other companies do as well. Margins go higher for them. Beta ramps up. Maybe that folks let go of a little bit of this dollar trade. But overall, the trend is not going to break in here. They haven't even thought about selling it in a significant way. And again, the lowest RSI, this basically troughs at 45 RSI minus what happened in July for the past 6 months. So this is absolutely, and that would be almost a half of where we are in the our current RSI. And that's what gets me to that level of about 437 is your 20-day moving average. I think it might be there in about a month or so. But again, like I said, I bought more today. I'm positioned for a little bit more upside in this. But I'm not surprised if there's any kind of I don't want to say rug pull. But so short term, higher. Look at the chart, for goodness sakes. And then afterwards, some kind of a mean reversion to about that 440 level. They're gobbling it up today, though, up 2.3% right now live. Okay, this is a new one on the program. We've never looked at this one. We look at URA. The uranium miners all-time high today. We are going to need uranium. They're going to the miners. This one's had a very amazing tape all year. I keep on using that anecdotal thing every time I go on X or read Barron's or any kind of financial media. Everyone's saying 2026 is the year of uranium. I'm not going to zoom out, but this chart has been crushing it. The uranium miners today, great looking candle. This has been absolutely on an amazing run since June, since summer started, and you had this breakout above, essentially $42. You caught it double. So these things move absolutely insane. They're gobbling it up today, up 6% is the uranium miner CCJ all-time highs today. This is kind of similar with what I said for gold. It probably goes a little bit higher in the short term, but I mean, this is crazy. Like when you have technicals on something like an 82 RSI, and it's had oh my God, 2 red days since January 9th. There is a queue to buy. And again, right here, look at that. Breakout above the former area, entering overbought. It's not going back to 68. It's not going to happen. That'd probably be best case scenario for you in 2 weeks. So maybe this mean reverts to about 68 to 70 level, and that'll be your invitation to enter. But again, gold looking just absolutely untouchable. That is it for the ERN. I have a position, like I said, in gold, and I have a position in URA. So I am enjoying this tape today. And the other one, like I said, SOXX, SOXX, Texas Instruments reported last night, killed it. It was up 7% last night. I'm not sure what it's doing right this second, but here is the SOXX all-time highs today. That's what gives me conviction. And, the Qs are going to be okay. SPY is going to be okay. All right. So here's the SOXX. Let me put this up on a different time frame. Yep. So this kind of tough to chart in a way, like in terms of the cycles, because it looks a little bit messy. But this has been a fine area since May, really, since June, let's say. This 200-day moving average, again, you can just see in every chart, and you can do it fractally. Right here, easy setup to buy, end of June, to buy the SOXX. 200-day moving average starts to flatten and actually incline. You got overbought registration on June 24th, as well as the breakout, like I said, from that previous area back in March. The area with conviction was to enter at 235 here, and here we are today. All-time highs. Your 200-day moving average support is at 259.5, essentially. To me, the target here is like 3. Geez. If you're in this, congratulations, enjoy the position. This one's sounds weird to say at all-time highs, but it hasn't been like where the puck's going. Micron powering this has been the other names. Nvidia now powering it, going over 190. So it's obviously a strong place to be. I would much rather have loved entries at 330 to 335, which was been given away up until 2 weeks ago. And like I said, full disclosure, I got stopped out on this dip down here. When I went from 355 to 341. I got stopped, and here we are again at all-time highs. Overbought. Things look great. I would much rather just enjoy a setup at around the 335 level. But that is the SOXX. All right, let us continue on. Okay, so those were the big winners. Gold today, multiple standard deviation mover up, uranium miners, and the semiconductors. Okay, if you have any of those, you're doing really well. Let's look at what has been a drag today on emerging markets and somewhat of EAFE. So look at this. So this is a 1 year of Indonesia. The 52-week high was January 15th. So all was well with this group here up until just 13 days ago. It hit $19.29. And, the 200 moving average just started going up here. And look at that. You didn't really get very narrow, but not actually, you didn't fulfill all the conditions. Right here, 200-day moving average, of course, starts to go higher. You didn't get that breakout from a former area. It literally almost penny ticked it just right here, but you never got that overbought. Look at that. You need to have all, as Ray Dalio says, you need to observe the lint on the sweater and where it is, and that's how you make money. I didn't have all the conditions register on that, so I wouldn't have bought this breakout, to be honest. I don't like the fervor. It didn't, never really had gusto. It never got, say above 75 RSI for multiple days or anything like that. And then here we are. You can go look at the statement yourself. But so this is Indonesia with, like I said, MSCI potentially downgrading them from emerging market to a frontier market. And it has sacked the nation down 10.5%. Let's look at the intraday candle here. So view up on the day, 1734. It's very close. It's under it by 1%. Massive volume, massive volume. It's just tough when you have this. Again, the 200 moving average went right through it like a knife through butter at $18 down to 17. She ugly. Yeah, I thought that 18 handle would hold. To be honest, this is a no touch for me. It's oversold. They're selling first and then asking questions later. I do like that it has a benefit of the doubt. I give it with the rising 200 moving average, but this may be magnetized. This reminds me of Brazil when they had that political fallout. The Bolsonaro son thing, and it was down 10% the next day. You just want to stay out of the way for a little bit. I'm not going to buy, and this is illiquid too, so don't even consider playing options for this directly. But yeah, I would, if you're going to consider getting into, bottom feeder type stuff like this, wait for it to get to 1805, let it hold there for a week. and then we'll see if the worst is over. But for me, that's a no touch. Indonesia absolutely getting hammered today, down 10.5%. What else are they selling? Just a bit of mean reversion here. Europe. So the dollar move was powerful today, was decent after it's been a dog. And off the all-time highs, just a little bit of mean reversion, down 1.3%. We always let the charts speak for themselves. It may not make sense, but when we see things coming, we see things coming. It just, you're not going to be on the treadmill for 3 hours because you think you can. It doesn't make any sense. But if you went on the treadmill for 15, 20 minutes at a certain speed and you're continuing that trajectory, you can safe to say you could probably do it for the next 20 minutes, and that's what we're doing here in technical analysis using probabilities. VGK has been on a ridiculous run, absolutely ridiculous. I think it's absolutely healthy. And we talked about this a couple of days ago. If this should fall to about 85.70 to 85.90, so right around the 85.80 level, right here where my cursor is, absolutely normal, absolutely. And it'll still hold 50 RSI. Trend is absolutely in place. You're just going to lose $2, so it's going to feel like a bloody 2.5 to 3% loss. But that'll be your invitation to get in. So that is VGK Europe. They're hammering it today. That is a multiple standard deviation move, about 1.6 to 1.8 standard deviations lower. And then the next one related, they're really not hammering a lot of stuff. EAFE, massive volume as usual in EAFE. Very similar chart, so we're not going to spend a ton of time. Again, peaked yesterday at 102.30. Today down 1.1%, which is a multiple standard deviation move. And similar goes for this, as I just said, for VGK, as is very similar. Absolutely healthy pullback. This should, in my opinion, pull back to about 98.80, so about another $2. Same thing what I said, 2.5% reduction. And then that will be your invitation to get into Europa through EAFE. All right? So some pretty simple things. It's a lot of sitting and waiting, which is probably the toughest thing for a trader. And then these will set up, I wouldn't say, just by zero DTE calls, but these are long-term great durable trends that will maintain, and they're starting to mean revert just a little bit off of the tops. So I think the dollar, any kind of a reversion in the dollar is going to take the foot off the gas from these positions. And while you have SPY going to all-time highs, that's like the cherry on top. What else? That's it for the losers on the day. So they're selling Europe and obviously the Indonesia case that we got to. All right. And that's all the multiple standard deviations. So to the upside, they're swarming around gold, uranium miners, and the semiconductors. They are selling Indonesia and Europe today. That is what they're doing into the Fed in a multiple standard deviation positioning, illuminating way. Top three gainers of the past 5 days. S to the L to the V. Silver is your top gainer, up 24% over the past 5 days, or an average of nearly 5% a day. Today, inside of that, today up 1.4. You can see this candle. Look at the rejection. Okay, I want you to look at that 2 days ago. We hit 107, basically, rounding for simplicity's sake. And then a nice looking hammer there. And then here today, a little bit of a doji here, up 1.4%. This thing has largely been overbought. I'll discount this period. But this thing has been overbought for the past 2.5 weeks, okay? This looks like a meme stock. Is silver. Like I said, full total disclosure, I got out of this and rolled into gold. It's been working wonderfully. I think we are possibly starting to see the digestion of these massive gains as we start to possibly entertain a sell-off towards, sounds crazy to say, but I'm just reading charts, $83. That is $20 away. That will absolutely smoke people. Absolutely smoke people. I could just imagine the margin call memes and actual margin calls that would happen. That's 20% away. I think there's a possibility of happening. Also, look at the massive volume on January 26th. It looks like on the top, everyone that wanted to get in was in, and now who are all the suckers left to buy? We shall see. Looks like there's going to be some negative days for silver in the future. This had only one since January 20th. And I foresee a pullback to about $85 in the coming probably 2 to 3 weeks. So be careful with your metals trades. 2 ATR is how you do it. You can get into this puppy today if you absolutely like. The ATR is 56 cents. Once you're down $1.10 from your entry, get the hell out. It's just that simple. Don't get addicted to opium. All right. It is 81 RSI though. So they're absolutely still buying first, asking questions later. So that's where the push and pull occurs. But silver, your absolute best trade in the past 5 days, always look for these candles to get smaller. Here they're ramping, right? Stallion, stallion, stallion. And now just starting to get a little bit more inside. Want to see what the metals do after the Fed press. All right, number 2 best gains, and it's way back. So silver's up 24%. Number 2, and this is an interesting one, is natural gas. We were talking about this. It's still frigid outside. I think it's 21 degrees, but with the wind, real feel, it's like 12 or something. Look at this. I texted my nat gas guy, and I said I think the move up is done, and I think this is going to go lower by about 15% in the next 2-ish weeks. And he said probably. It sounds about right. So for UNG, we're looking again. Look at this meaningful. This is super meaningful level. So it's trying to carve something different. Here, it had an oopsie on December 5th, 1 day above the 200-day moving average. Here, a rising 200-day moving average, it had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days. That's, I would perceive as constructive. And then right here, you got to, again, don't become a hope trader. Once it goes under that 200-day for about a week's worth of sessions, especially given the profile that's nat gas, it just seems like it's built to disappoint. Just the way it works. So right here, though, the 200-day is at 1424. We are trading 1445, down 1.5%. It has been averaging, as I said, nearly 2% a day. The candles are getting smaller and smaller with somewhat of a downward bias. I feel this is going to head. Again, don't forget, this thing hit all-time lows. It's crazy. 13 days ago, this thing printed 995. All right, so this thing's all over the place. I think we're going to see a downward move. I want to see how it holds above 1424. If I was a betting man, I don't have a position on this. I think it's going to be under 1425 in 2-3 days. And I do think this will start to move towards about that 1275 area in about 2 to 3 weeks. I think that's what's going to happen. Also, you're going to see some of the weather, we're probably going to get mid-30s again for highs. Sad that I'm embracing that. Someone please take me to the Bahamas. But I don't know why I said Bahamas. You just say Bahamas. Salama mama. I need lunch. But I do think this is going to have a reduction to about, as I said, that area of about 1290, the 50-day moving average, pretty much typical for a fall for something with a profile like this. It'll slip under the 50 RSI. It'll get, the FOMO, the fear of missing out of selling the piece of crap, which is natural gas. And that's really about it. So a move to 1275 from here, it's, what is that, to almost $2. So it's going to hurt. So like I said, I'll stick with that 15% decline. Be careful on buying puts. I guess you can right size the position. You can outright short UNG, although it's going to mess up your margin because it's such a low price, piece of crap mover. I really want to see what it does in the next 2 days. I like the stochastic momentum to start. It's still climbing, so it could do a little bit of this, get to that 1475 one more time, but I do think it's going to be weighted down and start to go lower. All that being said, natural gas, your second best trade of the week after silver. And then number 3, let's take a look at this, EWZ, Brazil, new 52-week high today. Don't forget, this thing peaked back here during the 2008 days. Folks are all about the catch-up trade. This will very likely do it, especially given the resources that we're focusing on in terms of natural resources. And Brazil is rich with them, even with crude oil where it is. I don't think it matters. This thing peaked back in 08, right before, right before the crisis, at 102. Folks are going to be saying and believing in the catch-up trades, and also understand that this is a very long-term chart. This is a 20-year chart. Each bar making 1 month, and there is a resistance there at 41.75, and it's 10% away. So very interesting. If we zoom out and then we zoom in here, Brazil, why are we talking about it? It's up 8% in the past 5 days to new 52-week high. Say, look at this upper Bollinger Band closes each time, and look at this. A little birdie did tell me. Breakout from a former area. I'm like a broken record. With overbought RSI, it's off to the races. They're going to buy first, ask questions later. You can kiss that handle away. So $34, it's not going back there right now anytime soon. From 34, it comes to 38. It went to 38.5 today, and now it's up 25 bips. I already have enough Mexico and South Korea, so I don't need more international exposure, but Brazil looks great. I love the catch-up trade. This looks like it's gotten a little bit too, far above its skis right here. I foresee a bit of a pullback to that area of the former breakout right around that 34.5 to 34.75 area. Be careful, but I don't think it's going to get there right now, considering we are at 81 RSI. What do you do if you want to buy the breakout? just be careful considering today's VWAP is 38.11 and it just let it slip. Don't love that. But the ATR is 47. Once you're down 94 cents on the guy, get out. That's it. That's it. Risk management 101, easy peasy, mac and cheesy. I'm really adopting the vernacular from my 4-year-old son. Okie dokie artichoke. That one's from me. Okay, that was Brazil. Let's look at the losers. I'm not going to really go to town repeating if I have to do tech analysis on the same thing. So Indonesia, your biggest loser. Yes, it basically came all from today, but Indonesia down 10.5% in the past 5 days. Yes, basically all coming from today. Not going to beat a dead horse on this. Let's look at this. We haven't looked at this in a while, ever since the Trump news trying to buoy home construction stocks. Understand that this peaked at Labor Day week, okay, when weather was much, much better than it was today. And it peaked at $118. The 200-day moving average had been a brick wall at, let's call it par, $9,900 here. And then just finally started to get incline. We're at an important place right here. We're at the 50 RSI, which it has not been since the day of that announcement. We were up 4% January 8th, if you recall. So a very important spot. It's down 4% over the past 5 days, so just inside of 1% per day. Today, it's up 29 bips. Fed's likely going to pause. Excuse me. Let's see what happens to this. But for me, I think this is going to be in distribution here to about not $97. I don't think it's going to go through those lows, but I think it's going to pull back to this 200-day moving average. I think it's going to go down to about $100. Very interesting place. And it's probably going to give a little bit of a, something like a 47 RSI. But I think this starts to roll over a little bit. I'm not really looking for shorts considering where the, global market is. But I don't think it's crazy if you wanted to buy, 102 puts on this, going out, say, March. This looks like a clear peak. We were looking at to see if this was going to break 110, and obviously didn't. But I think over the next 2 weeks, this is heading to $100. I think it's pretty much in the cards, to be honest. So if you sold the SOXX short, you get 3%. Options, I would imagine, you would get a much better payout. Okie dokie. Not bad. Not bad if you're looking for shorts tactically. Verizon 200 and moving average, stuck at the 50 RSI. It's been red many days. This has had one, by the way, this has had one green day. Today, they're trying to make it the second. This has had one green day since January 16th. So not looking too strong. And the next one, the Jets ETF. I remember having some bullishness around the airlines, and we said, oh, this groups were getting ready to go. Not this week. This week, it's down 4% over the past 5 days. Today, it's down 40 bips. It is under 50 RSI. Ugly looking candle today, to be honest. And it did peak on January 9th for around 29.60. Crude over $6. It looks like an oversold buy here, to be honest with you. I don't love the candle today. Let's see how it closes. A rising 200 moving average, high volume yesterday. Very high volume. It closed down 1.6%. I want to let the dust settle on this a little bit, but I like the setup. If you're able to get in around 27.30, I kind of like it here. But the issue is, I think you're just going to get a move to about 28.5. So is it going to be worth it for a $1.20 move? Possibly if you do spreads, you could do, if you get in at 27.30, let's say, it just, sells off about another 40 cents or so, which is, 1.5% from here. If I did that math correctly, I do think you get that bounce to about 28.5. You can buy the 28 calls and you can sell the 29 against them. Kind of don't hate that trade for February. But I do think Jets is higher in 2 to 3 weeks. I think it reclaims 28.5. And then I think ultimately it may head to 29.5 to that 30 level. So yeah, I probably sell the 30 calls actually against it. Okay. So, and that's it for Jets. So top 3 trades in the past 5 days. If you've been long silver, or any metal really, short Indonesia, and that was a total, crazy tail risk type thing going into one day today. And long nat gas, congratulations, you have the perfect portfolio, though we're talking about nat gas and possible moves on that. All right, 35 minutes. The Fed is going to happen soon. And then, of course, a lot of mega cap tech earnings tonight. Found my little guitar. Well, drop the remote and peace.